updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, self-determination refers to the right of a people or nation to decide its own political status and pursue its economic, social, and cultural development without external influences. It's a fundamental principle in international law that supports a group's rights to form a government, choose its political path, and potentially establish an independent state. Self-determination is often associated with the initial process of gaining independence or the right to break away from colonial rule or another form of external domination, while autonomy, on the other hand, is about the degree of self-governance or control a country or a region within that country exercises once it has already established itself as a distinct entity. Autonomy also allows a country to make independent decisions in various aspects, whether it be political, economic, cultural, without interference from outside powers. Now, during the presentation given by the Chief Secretary, Fali Augustine, on Sunday, it was highlighted that he was conflating the two terms, autonomy and self-determination. And this morning, we had Raising the Alarm political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Mr. Watson Duke. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you. Good morning to Tobago. Your patience has been totally great, Tobago. Not with you, but with the administration who's currently in power.
Right. Now, you would have highlighted during your press conference that the Chief Secretary was interchanging the terms self-determination and autonomy.
Of course.
And you ensured that you highlighted that there is a difference.
Stark difference.
Right? Whereby self-determination is usually one key act of possibly breaking away and having that independence, while autonomy has to do with having a level of self-determination. Tell us why it is very dangerous to come to the public and make it seem as though the two terms are the same thing.
All right. Very good question. Again, I want to thank Tobago for the patience with putting up the Fali administration. I say that openly. The two things, self-determination and autonomy, are totally different. Self-determination is a broad form of island becoming independent insofar as they're taught. They will now think about what are their options and what options they want to make proper use of based on the merits and demerits. Right? Autonomy, on the other hand, is a part of self-determination. It is not self-determination. Self-determination is a big circle, and autonomy is a part of self-determination. But when you bring the two together, you're giving the public that autonomy is self-determination. It's not that. And I dare to say again, there is not a leader who has rose to prominence, not James, the first James, I forget what his name is, from Pembroke. He was a pharmaceutical person. James wasn't James Bigart. He had not advocated for self-determination. He advocated for autonomy. APT James advocated for autonomy. Yeah? A.N.R. Robinson, they advocated for autonomy, some of their rights. Yeah? Ho Choi Charles also advocated for autonomy. Fali Augustine, he advocated for autonomy. Even if you ask for secession, total separation, it is not self-determination. Self-determination is neither independence, nor is it autonomy, nor is it an association. Self-determination is where the country for itself determines what it wants to do. It is not where Fali Augustine is telling Tobago, give us a little more sea and we're going to be good. All right? Or allow us to make some laws and we're going to be good. That's not for him to decide. It is not for Winford James and Ingrid Melville to decide. They cannot lead Tobago on autonomy issue. They can't even play a major role. It is a matter for the public to engage their assemblymen, whom they have elected to represent them. And they now must bring that on the issue of autonomy.
Well, there are the persons who may argue that the conversation regarding Tobago autonomy has happened for such a long time, and there have been the conversations with the public, and there has been that merger of political entities that came together to have that one Tobago voice in order to put forward that proposal that went to the central government as the Tobago Autonomy Bill. But we hear now in the public space from a number of political entities that it's possible that that consultation could now be outdated based on the new trajectory that the world is going in, new technologies and new development.
You're right. That whole conversation with the over London and Hochai Charles administration, that's outdated. That's irrelevant. And I want to warn the Chief Secretary, again, he has a way of operating in a covert manner, right? Where he's not bringing things to the attention of the public and allowing them to participate in democracy. One of the things the PDP campaigned on is participatory democracy. You can't say you have democracy when I'm not a participant in that process. And for me to participate, I must have all the information that is required for me to make a sensible decision. And I must be allowed to make that decision without being coercing. You can't come and tell Tobago a little more sea. We oil and gas. No, that's not for you to decide. It's a conversation where all three aspects of self-determination must be placed before Tobagonians.
Right. So do you suggest to this administration that as a part of the the bipartisan conversations with the central government and the THA on the recommended amendments, that a public caravan of sorts is created where the administration can go from district to district, just as they had their town hall meetings, asking persons to make recommendations and updating and, helping to submit those amendments to the bill?
I'm not sure I understand what you were saying clearly.
Are you suggesting that they go back to the community, similar as they did with their town hall meetings, where they went from district to district, and now ask the public to be a part of the recommendations that would be made for the amendments to the bill?
Yes and no. They must go back to the public, but not in that fraudulent manner they would have gone to the public stating that they're having town hall meetings. That was a whole sham, a whole fraud. Nothing came out of that. It was all theatrics for the camera. This must be a real meeting. And when Fali goes there, he goes there not with his executive, but he goes there with all assemblymen, right? And he goes to listen with all assemblymen, even the PNM assemblyman and myself must be there also, not with his bunch of friends. And when we sit down, the public must be presented all three aspects. They must be given the benefits rather, of independence. They could choose to be independent, and the demerits or the disadvantages of being independent.
All right.
They must be given, let's do the other two.
Go ahead.
They must be given the benefits of having autonomy in a Trinidad and Tobago relationship and the disadvantages of having autonomy in a Trinidad and Tobago relationship. They must be given the benefits of having an association with Trinidad where they share the currency, may share security borders, and maybe the economy space, right? And they must be given the demerits of that. We must have a sensible and intellectual discussion. Persons who are Tobagonians but living abroad must be able to participate, whether by email by Zoom. It must be something that allows for the full participation of every single body, even granny with your one hand a banana and grandpa with your one foot. They must be able to participate in this conversation. This is not an intellectual conversation. It is our life. So when he says that win for James and Ingrid Melville, the thing upset me. They're my family. It upset me. This, you don't pass the buck on with a matter as this. This is not a cake sale. This is the life of Tobagonians. The man doesn't understand what's happening. We need to have himself as the leader of the executive administration, that is, to be there chairing the meeting, but not dominating the meeting, chairing it. He has to allow for time. This is not a 1 hour in the afternoon after you finish work. This is a kind of shut down the place and let me talk about this. And you definitely hold it to listen, to take copious amount of notes. This is a serious issue. But Trinidad, let me say this one point. But Trinidad, speaking of the central government, does not want us to have a full conversation on self-determination. Trinidad is guiding the conversation as a parent and say, look, you want ice cream? Look, they have peanut here. But there's strawberry. There is cheesecake flavor. You know, we have different type of flavors there. But you have ice cream here, you have peanut.
Right. But what do you say to the persons who say, okay, what you are suggesting is absolutely ideal. However, based on the time frame within which this bill may come before the parliament, that is not possible. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, clearly, the bill that comes before the parliament is a bill for discussion. It's not a bill for passage. The only bill for passage is a bill that meets the desires of Tobagonians. So again, participatory democracy does not take place until Tobagonians are fully immersed in the subject matter and we understand the things that are before Parliament and we have decided what we want out of it. So Parliament just becomes a rubber stamp acting on our behalf because we live within a country called Trinidad and Tobago, of which we are a ward. Even if someone is a ward and you are taking care of someone, that person have rights, at least the right to be heard, the right to be understood, and the right to be properly represented.
Right. We heard the councillor on the minority side, Councillor Petal Benoit, saying that this is a move in the right direction. It may not be where we want to be, but this is a move in the right direction. After so many years of the thrust towards autonomy and all the work that the James Begats and everyone else that came before has done, do you think that that is a reasonable statement to make, that by accepting the bill in its current form, it's a move towards the right direction and improvements can be made along the way?
I think Petal needs to be asked on whose behalf she is speaking. Is it the people? In fact, she's not an assemblyman, so first of all, she represents no one, right? But if she's speaking on behalf of Tobagonians, then she's wrong. She's wrong. She's definitely speaking on behalf of a political organization, but this is not about politics. Tobago's self-determination is about what Tobago wants for itself, not what the PNM want for Tobago. We know what the PNM want for Tobago, and we know what Farley want for Tobago. But all Watson Duke and the PDP want for Tobago is that Tobago must decide for itself and be given all the information to decide. Don't come and tell me, they have ice cream, you want peanut? There is different flavors on inside there. There is orange pine, there is cheesecake, you know? There is strawberry flavor. Tell us about the coconut flavor. Don't tell us, they have peanut. You want it? That's giving us one choice and making it sound as if it's the only choice. When Farley speaks of autonomy, it's one choice. When Robinson spoke of autonomy, it seemed as if it was one choice. And all they wanted to do was to give us more benefits of autonomy. We do not want autonomy. Tobago simply wants to decide. And I've been saying that. All Tobago wants to do is to decide. We have never ever decided. And may I, just in 2 minutes, explain why Tobago need to decide?
Go ahead.
Tobago, after we were joined to Trinidad by the Trinidad and Tobago Act of 1887 by Queen Victoria in the Parliament of the British Empire, Tobago was no longer itself. Tobago became a plaything for Queen Victoria, because in 1898, Queen Victoria decided on her own with Privy Council personnel, you call it an order in council. She decided to make Tobago a ward of itself. Listen to me. No man could be a ward of itself. It's an oxymoron. It's an unhealthy statement. It's an abnormality to say to Tobagonians that you are a ward of yourself. In 1887, the Trinidad and Tobago Act was formed, which actually was operationalized in 1889. So it became unity. But she was given extra powers to determine the terms and conditions of that unification. And in 1898, it can't be confused. In 1898, she decided that Tobago must become a ward of Trinidad and Tobago because there was no longer a place called Trinidad. In 1962, when Trinidad and Tobago sought independence, it was Trinidad and Tobago, which is Trinidad and Tobago, was a ward. We never had to decide on it. In 1976, when Trinidad and Tobago got Republican status, it was Trinidad and Tobago, the country, not Tobago. Tobago was a ward. And based on United Nations conventions and different international conventions and rules, etc., self-determination is an inalienable right. Inalienable is a big word. It means a right that you cannot divorce yourself from. It's a must right. You have and bound to get it. There's no way to work around it. And Tobago have never ever had that right. So it's a legal issue. And the PNM understands it's a legal issue. So in their preamble, they say, and there shall be, Trinidad and Tobago shall have equal status, and Tobago will be given the right, the island of Tobago will be given the right of self-determination to determine its own political status, right? And to pursue, to freely pursue. You must pursue it freely without any hindrance or encumbrance. And to freely pursue its economic, social, and cultural development. These things make a country. So in their preamble, they have said that in the new preamble here. They acknowledge it. It's not a new idea, but it's one that they are forced to now acknowledge. But in the body of the Constitution, they never act on it, nor acknowledge it within there. And that's our problem. They want to lock us into a choice, telling us, take peanut ice cream. We don't want peanut ice cream. Let us see the full array of colors and the choices. Let us decide. That's for we to decide. Even if you are a paraplegic, you have a right to express yourself, a right to be heard, and a right to be listened to and act upon the information you would have given to the adult. If Trinidad holds himself to be the adult in this room, then Tobago among themselves should freely, without the coercion of any single body, without my coercion, without Farley's coercion, without anyone, should decide one out of the three statuses: independence, autonomy, or an association with Trinidad, where there's merely associate, but they're independent, but merely associate with them.
Excellent. Now we're going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to return with much more of this conversation. Guys, you're going to see you soon right after this.
Get ready for Tobago Stockwest Next Level 2024. Join us for an unforgettable night of talent and excitement as Tobago.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, if you're just joining us, then you have missed a truly interesting conversation this morning. We have been chatting with the leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Mr. Watson Duke, on the Tobago Autonomy Bill. And you were reflecting at the beginning of our discussion on, the errors or the danger of conflating self-determination and autonomy. Because while self-determination might be the broader overlook and possible moves towards independence, autonomy is only an aspect of that.
Restricted, yes.
Right? And so there have been a number of issues and points of contention with this current bill on both sides, whether it be for those that support the bill or those that oppose the bill. And one of those areas have to do with the definition of Tobago and what defines Tobago and its marine resources. There's also the issue of the oil and gas finds that are in Tobago's waters and how does Tobago benefit from that? What are your perspectives on that?
Can I be real with you? Absolutely real with you. Tobago as a ward has no waters whatsoever. None. All right? Tobago as a ward has no water. And this is why I said in a previous press conference that our problem is not the Constitution. The Constitution can remain as it is for a while. The Constitution doesn't add or take away from Tobago. The Constitution does not belittle the status of Tobago. Our problem arises with these colonial bills called the Trinidad and Tobago Act of 1887 and its amendment in 1898 that made Tobago a ward. As long as you are a ward, it means that someone has to take care of you and someone makes decisions for you. So what Trinidad did? Trinidad ensured that they give 2 seats to Tobago here. And they ensure they put something called the Tobago House of Assembly here to be run by mimic men, jokers, right? And they dress back. And they say, well, that's what they want. That's what Tobago want. What we need to have is a serious form of governance in Tobago that allows persons' views to be heard. As it is right now, if we have to solve our problem with the sea and everything out there, we must go back to the Trinidad and Tobago Act, and we must repeal that act and replace it with a more modern, contemporary, and progressive act. That act can solve all our problems. The act is a very simple act, All it states is that the colony of Tobago has requested and the colony of Trinidad has consented to unite and form one colony. Good? And they agreed. At the time when they said the colony of Tobago consented, one must understand that the colony of Tobago was Crown Colony and the colony of Trinidad was Crown Colony, which means both Trinidad and Tobago was ruled, absolutely ruled, by the Crown. Therefore, was there any true participation of Tobagonians in the matter, or the slaves or the people who lived and worked in Tobago? No, there was no true participation. It was all the Queen unto herself saying, we want to join these two, and use the British Empire's Parliament to authenticate the process. It's a sham. We now, who have grown in knowledge and stature and brilliance, we must say, let's revisit that old act, that colonial act that was made under bad governance and bad vibes. Let us redefine Tobago, and let's redefine Trinidad, and let us join them. But the way in which they join will be legislated. So we can decide we join them by autonomy or we join them by an association. Autonomy has various forms. A federal system is an autonomy, and there are different types of federal system. Yeah? And so, but an association means that Tobago is independent, Trinidad is independent, but they associate deliberately on matters of mutual interests. Yeah? So the European Union is a perfect association where France and Germany all form part of the Union, and they make laws that has a common thread of legality in all of France and all of Germany. But if Germany decides not to agree with that law, then it applies only to France. Yeah? So that's an association. Again, both Germany and France, they use the euro because they're all European Union places, right? And they have a central form of defense. But regardless of that, they have their own system of governance at home that allows France to be France and Germany to be Germany. Tobago can be Tobago, Trinidad can be Trinidad. We can share the dollar, the currency. We can share the economic space, Trinidad and Tobago space. Yeah, we have to just decide how the money will be split up. We can share national security issues, which is national issues, but we can have our own individual security on the island. It's a way to think and give Tobago a modern way of seeing itself. I want Tobago to see itself differently. People like the others want to see Tobago in the old pisa slave cloth it used to be in, around its waist. I say shake that off, Tobago. Shake it off and dress up nice.
All right. I want to thank you so much,
My pleasure.
Mr. Watson Duke, leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, for bringing your view to the conversation on
Thank you so much.
Tobago's autonomy. And we do hope that your suggestions on a bipartisan conversation with all members of the Assembly and the public to have those updated recommendations are taken into consideration. Guys, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to be back right after this. See you soon.